Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, picture this. Recruiters spend an average of just 7 seconds scanning a CV. 7 seconds. That is literally the blink of an eye. So today our main goal is to completely transform a process that, let's be honest, absolutely exhausts most of us. We're going to take that frustrating, time-consuming job application grind and flip it into a stress-free, highly repeatable system. By leaning on some brilliant insights and workflow strategies from the experts at WorkBlok, we're going to figure out how to build a professional CV that instantly, and I mean instantly, builds trust with recruiters.
Now be honest with me for a second. When you see a new job posting, do you open up a totally blank document? Or maybe you heavily overwrite an old file, essentially starting from zero every single time? Yeah, we all know that incredibly overwhelming feeling. You spend hours meticulously tweaking a document only to send it off into a digital black hole, and you never hear back. Let's be brutally honest here. This approach, it's broken. It completely drains your energy, and honestly, it rarely gets you the results you actually want. But hey, it really doesn't have to be this way.
So here is our roadmap for solving this frustration together. 1. The question behind the vacancy. 2. Building a broad master CV. 3. Experience as evidence, not an archive. 4. Smart personalization per vacancy. And 5. The final quality check.
All right, let's jump right into step 1, the question behind the vacancy.
Okay, we need to completely shift your mindset right off the bat. You see, most applicants read a vacancy text like it's a strict grocery shopping list, trying to check off every single box. But really, a vacancy text is just a hiring manager's briefing about a specific problem they desperately need solved. You've got to read between the lines here. You need to separate the absolute must-haves, things like a required medical license or being fluent in a specific language, from the nice-to-haves. Doing this is a total game changer because it stops you from getting defensive. If you need those hard requirements, you apply with confidence. You absolutely do not need to apologize for missing a bonus skill. Instead, you just focus on showcasing your ability to learn it.
So before you even think about touching your CV, you need to use a framework like a vacancy matrix. This is where you map out the employer's core needs, identify your specific proof, and, this is absolutely crucial, decide exactly where that evidence belongs. Listen, not everything has to be crammed into your CV. Some things are way better suited for your cover letter, or maybe even saved as a great anecdote for your interview. Visually mapping this out prevents you from overstuffing your document, keeping your application perfectly clean and incredibly targeted. Moving right along to Section 2, build a broad master CV. Now, this master CV is completely internal. Think of it as your personal infinite work supply. It's a massive document where you list absolutely everything, the whole shebang, every project, every minor role, every little certification. Doing this totally eliminates that dread of staring at a blank page ever again. When you spot a vacancy, you don't write anything new. Nope, you simply open this master document and cherry-pick the pieces that perfectly fit the employer's puzzle.
And within that master document, you're actually building what we call an evidence library. So instead of just dropping in a boring list of job titles, you are collecting these highly reusable, proven building blocks from your entire career. By structuring your past experiences this way, focusing on context, action, and value, you make personalizing your future applications incredibly fast and, most importantly, super consistent.
Let's slide right into Section 3, experience as evidence, not an archive.
We really have to contrast the exhausting old way of writing a CV with this highly efficient new way. The old way, that's the archive. That's listing every single daily task and every single email you ever sent, which, let's face it, just leads to an exhausting wall of text. Recruiters already know what a project manager or a sales rep generally does. The new way is all about providing evidence. You really only want 2 to 3 highly targeted, strong bullet points per role that prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that you can solve the specific problem we identified in the vacancy.
To write those absolute perfect bullet points, you're going to use this exact formula: context plus action plus value. It's like magic. For example, instead of just writing something vague like made schedules, you'd write streamlined the weekly schedule for a team of 12 with rotating shifts, reducing ad hoc meetings. Boom. See the difference? Even if you don't have exact statistical percentages to throw in, writing your experience using this specific formula shows true professional ownership. It proves not just what you did, but why it actually mattered in the grand scheme of things.
All right, moving on to Section 4, smart personalization per vacancy.
Customization is actually just about shifting accents, not rewriting your entire life story from scratch. You analyze the briefing,
You choose what elements to highlight, and you spend the vast majority of your time adjusting just the very top of your CV. We're talking about the profile and headline. Why? Because that is exactly where the recruiter decides if they're even going to keep reading.
To make sure you don't fall into the trap of over-editing, I want you to lean into the 3-signal strategy. Just ask yourself, what are the top 3 things the recruiter absolutely must remember about you after a 10-second scan? Once you figure those out, let those 3 signals entirely dictate your short profile text at the top. Then, just simply reorder the bullet points in your work history so the evidence supporting those exact 3 signals appears first. It's brilliant, because it keeps your customization highly actionable and completely prevents your document from sounding robotic or losing your natural personality.
But remember this, your skills section should be dynamic, but it absolutely must be grounded in reality. If you swap out your skills to match the job posting and suddenly claim stakeholder management at the very bottom of your CV, the recruiter must easily spot the evidence of that up above in your job history. Never, ever list a keyword that you haven't backed up with one of those context, action, value bullet points we just talked about.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, the final quality check.
The absolute magic number here is 6. You must always check the top 6 lines of your CV. This chunk includes your headline, your contact info, and your short profile text. Ask yourself, do these top 6 lines instantly establish your direction? Do they clearly state what kind of role you want and the core value you're bringing to the table? If those top 6 lines build trust, I promise you the recruiter will read the rest. But if they're vague, they're going to move on. Simple as that.
Furthermore, treating your CV as a living, well-organized system means you really need to adopt version control. Please never name a file CV_final_final_V3_really final. We've all been there, right? Instead, name it logically. Date, company, role. Keep a quick little note for yourself about which 3 signals you highlighted for this specific job. Why go through the trouble? Because when they call you for an interview 3 weeks later, you're going to know exactly what narrative you sent them, allowing you to prep seamlessly. It's a real game changer.
I want to end by challenging you with this ultimate friction test. Right before you apply, hand your newly tailored CV to a friend. Give them exactly 30 seconds to read it. Then take it away and ask them to summarize your professional direction and top strengths. If they stumble or look confused, well, you still have too much archive and not enough evidence. A truly professional CV completely removes all the guesswork. So the question is, are you ready to stop endlessly rewriting your history and start building a system that actually gets you hired?